welcome to episode 14 of the Dugout Dad's Local Sports Podcast, where our skills are questionable.
But our spirit is unstoppable.
Jonathan, a special episode tonight. We're here at No Bells once again. We appreciate No Bells, and we got to recognize our title sponsor, Kobe McKinney with Heartland, it's not Heartland, Underwood Realty.
Really.
I keep getting that messed up, Kobe, and I apologize for that. With Underwood Realty, Kobe, thanks for being a title sponsor for us. Once again, we want to thank our hashtag Hollies for being our Dugout Dads Athlete of the Week sponsor with our T-shirts, Pizza Hut for our coaches segment, and Infinity Promotions for being our scores and recaps. We appreciate all of our sponsors and everything they do for us. But tonight, Jonathan, special episode here from No Bells. We're going to be live. We're going to live stream the Carthage Christmas Parade for everybody. Do a little commentary for the Christmas Parade for me and Jonathan. But let's start. Let's start for the week of sports. If you want to start with us,
man, I'm so excited to be here for first, Michael. The weather has finally changed. The holiday season is, it's here. We've just celebrated Thanksgiving, and man, the excitement around high school sports, high school football. Championship start this week, and man, it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen each other. We've seen a lot of good games. It's just, man, it's so exciting. We've got some good matchups in our Blue Cross Bowls. We've got some teams that haven't been there in a while that have shown up. Memphis Melrose comes to mind as one of those. I know that's back in our day. Of course, we're big Tennessee fans. You remember Cedric Wilson?
Yep.
That's where he played. And they haven't been back to the championship game since, I think, 98. So, that's one. And then, of course, a first time here locally. Congratulations to Macon County.
Yes.
Making it for the first time ever in football. So, man, that's an got to be exciting time in Lafayette.
It is a very exciting time in Lafayette. And, congratulations to Kyle Shoulders and his guys. What a game they played the other night. It was a back-and-forth game. Was there much defense? Wasn't really a lot of defense in the game. It was a high-scoring, 2-point game at the end of the day. But, congratulations to Kyle Shoulders and his team for making it there for the first time ever.
Absolutely. And, just looking at it this week, they start out Thursday. They're going to get the Division II, started off on Thursday. The first matchup, all of these games are 11, 3, and 7, I believe, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They start out with the Division II. And you look at it, you've got BGA versus CPA. They're going to get the private schools on Thursday. And, looking at it, I did the 6-time champion in BGA. They're 11-2. They've scored 537 points. They've only give up 234 points. But here's the thing. They lost to CPA back in September, 49-16. They've got a junior quarterback in Caden Marable. He's got a 72% completing percentage. Stone for over 3,000 yards. He's got 33 passing touchdowns. And on defense, they've got a junior in Nathaniel Fleming with 13 sacks and 82 total tackles. You get those private school matchups, they're the kind of the cream of the crop. And you start out with that AA, 2A, and on the other side, CPA, they're the 6-time champion. They're the number 3 overall in the state, and they're the defending state champions. And with them, you get a little bit of a balanced attack. And then the thing about them is they've only give up 155 points this year and scored 503. And their quarterback, Hudson Chance, has thrown for 2,200 yards, 24 touchdowns. But then they've got a junior running back in Rawls Patterson who has rushed for 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. And I know I looked at his recruiting, and there's several big-name schools that are looking at him coming up next year.
Wow. And what so exciting for this, it is in Chattanooga. The Blue Cross supposed to move to Chattanooga. I really can't wait for it to get back to Middle Tennessee. It's okay to be in Chattanooga, but the atmosphere at Tech has been for the last few years, even in the old days when we was in school, at Murfreesboro, MTSU. I really like that really atmosphere a little bit better because everybody can come to Middle Tennessee. It's not down south. It's okay. I really can't wait for it to get back to Middle Tennessee.
Right. I mean, that's, and you're exactly right. I remember I went with my dad one year and we set out and it was like an all-day event. Man, we about froze that night, but man, it was so fun. And to me, you look at some of the crowd aspect of it when going to Chattanooga, it just doesn't seem like there is many people there as they were when it was here in the Middle Tennessee State area. And another thing on CPA, their defense, they've got a senior and Steel Chance. They've got 126 total tackles, and then they've got a junior, Preston Patterson, has got 105 total tackles, and I saw that he's being recruited by several big-name SEC schools. So that's the Thursday matchup, BGA versus CPA. You flip to the 3 o'clock matchup. You got Nashville Christian versus Columbia Academy. Two kind of relatively younger schools, not been around as long. But you look at Nashville Christian, they give up 572, or they've scored 572 points, only give up 136. Columbia Academy scored 464 and gave up 248. Again, Nashville Christian, their only loss to Division II AA BGA. Huge, and it was a 35-28 game. The thing about Nashville Christian that I have seen is they got the quarterback, Jared Curtis.
Jared Curtis,
He is the stud. He's got 2,700 yards passing, 38 passing touchdowns, and another 600 yards on the ground and another 14 touchdowns. You look at this kid's recruiting.
Was a Georgia commit. Now it's open.
Right. It's Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Cincinnati, and Dion out in Colorado is even looking at this kid. So this kid, just a junior, very exciting time for this kid, in Nashville Christian. And then you flip to Columbia Academy. Their only loss, they're 10-3, and they lost to Nashville Christian 45-7 back in October. A couple of their star guys is Monte Baldwin. He's averaging 150 yards on the game, got 23 total touchdowns. And then their quarterback, Steven Nieves, has got 1,800 yards passing and 23 total touchdowns.
You talk about Nashville Christian, too. I always go Nashville Christian, where it reminds me of Daniel Batuli. Who went to play for Knoxville, played at Nashville Christian. And every time I hear Nashville Christian, I always think of Daniel Batuli.
Yes.
What an athlete to come out there and go play at the University of Tennessee.
Yes. And wrapping up, on Thursday, you've got probably what Max Prep says is the best team in the state of Tennessee versus the second team in the state of Tennessee. And that's Chattanooga Baylor versus Chattanooga McCallie. There's not going to be any love lost between these two schools. We know it. It's a rematch of the 2023 where McCallie won it all, 34-28. They're the 5-time state champion. Baylor a 2-time state champion. And, man, you just look at the numbers, and they mirror each other. Baylor scored 454 points. McCallie scored 398. Baylor's give up 153 points. McCallie's give up 163. There's going to be some kids in this matchup. This is, the Division II, 3A. There's going to be kids that you're going to see playing on Saturdays and Sundays coming up, in this matchup.
And every time you hear McCallie, you think about the latest headlines with Gary Rankin and Boyd Buchanan, who don't want to play McCallie just because of it's a really huge matchup for him. They don't want to play those guys.
Right. And it's very, it's one of those things. It's hard. It's a head scratcher because you look at Gary and his statement. He's probably right in some aspect of it because it's not conducive to play up to that top talent.
Right.
But then you also look at him when he was at Alcoa. Was he really thinking about that when he was at Alcoa?
Was that the same mindset at Alcoa when you're beating everybody for 10, 11 state championships in a row?
So, that's the big Division II matchups of the week. A very exciting Thursday ahead, and then you flip the script. Then it's the public schools. We're going to start off on Friday, and they're going to go 3A, 1A, 5A. And, of course, speaking of Alcoa, talking about Gary Rankin, that leads us into, 22-time state champion Alcoa, 13-1, plays 14-0 Westview out of the Memphis area. And you look at it, there's not a whole lot else that we can say about Alcoa. They've scored 571 points. They've only given up 168. Their only loss was to a 6A Ravenwood school that made it to the semifinals this past Friday night.
Right.
So Alcoa, the defending state champions. But you look at Westview, they have a freshman in Graham Simpson, who is many of us that follow high school and college sports around here remember the name Simpson. His younger brother, Ty, is now the backup quarterback at Alabama. And, of course, his daddy, Jason, is the head coach at UT Martin. And he's put up some eye-popping numbers this fall. He's got a 77% completion percentage, thrown for 2,800 yards, and has 43 passing touchdowns.
Wow.
So that offensive outburst and output that they can do is going to put a strain on that Alcoa defense.
Yeah.
But I am sure that Alcoa is going to be ready this coming
Yeah,
Friday.
and you look at it, you know, just being a little partial here, you look at, I mean, football is strong in the Memphis area, but is it as strong as the mid-state and the east side of the state? I don't think so. It's kind of went that way in numerous years where somebody from Memphis made it to the championship but couldn't match up with the east side of the state. You know, we don't know here. You got a 13-1 versus a 14-0.
But
I mean,
you know, speaking of that, I got to looking at it today. There's not a whole lot. Normally, you see 2 or 3 teams coming out of East Tennessee,
Yep.
the Upper East area. It's more of Middle Tennessee, Memphis.
Yep.
You know, you've got maybe Sevier County, and you got always got Alcoa, but there's not as many East Tennessee teams. You know, they made it to the semis, but there was a couple of teams out of West Tennessee that knocked them off this year.
Yep. And, you know, that's one of the games I look forward to just because of Alcoa, you know, and Gary Rankin's been there, but also local favorite. Josh Hackett coached at Alcoa under
Yes.
Gary Rankin for a while.
Yes.
So I've always kind of followed Alcoa just because Josh went there and he coached there, you know, and I'm really, really close with Josh. So, I mean, I really like following Alcoa, and they've won a lot of state championships.
Well, and just the success there. It's comforting to see, you know, you watch all these high school teams out of Texas and Florida, you know, and you hear all of these state titles that they've won, you know, and then the media or the, you know, ESPN, they don't touch on the Tennessee teams. But I think that's going to change because you're seeing a lot of talent in this state that's rising. And again, Alcoa, kind of the blue collar, the blue chip team that's always there. I think, to me, that's going to be a very exciting matchup this Friday.
It is.
And, you know, flipping to 1A, you know, we've got a team here that you and I know well, have seen personally in South Pittsburgh, and they're going to play Mace, M-A-S-E. And I had to look it up, and I was talking to Maddox, my son, the other day, and I was asking him, I said, do you know what it stands for? I've never heard of it, but it's Memphis Academy of Science and Engineering. And, you know, you look at both of them. Of course, this is the 1A matchup. You've got South Pittsburgh, a 7-time and defending state champion, and Mace, they were runner-up in 2021. Again, you look at South Pittsburgh. Couldn't find a whole lot of stats on Max Prep about them, but they've scored 517 points, and they've only give up 135.
Yep.
You look at Mace, they've scored 622 and only give up 136. South Pittsburgh, 12-2, losses to Oliver Spring and Sequatchie County early in the season. Of course, Sequatchie, a 3A, you know, and I think they played them pretty close. And I think maybe South Pittsburgh, they haven't had their stable of full running backs up until about the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And you look at the Buckner kid, you know, we got to see him at Clay County. He's everything that you want in a box of the chocolates right there, because he is a load to take down.
It is. And you look at them, South Pittsburgh's a perennial power in 1A. They've been a perennial power for many years in 1A. They're going to continue to be that. You know, so once again, South Pittsburgh makes it to the state championship, and they eliminated Clay County, which is a great Clay County team this year. You know, with Nate Adams and the offense they had there, and you know they go up there and take care of business in Clay County. And now we go here and they go play Mace, who once again it's a new school for me. I really hadn't heard of them much, but hey, congratulations to them for getting there too. Once again, another Memphis school in the
absolutely. And then you look at them; they lost to a Division II AA Lasagne Collegiate. Don't know much about them either,
right?
But they beat them 35-6. Now, here's the stat about Mace that I found so shocking and so surprising. They blew everybody else out but that Lasagne Collegiate with 9 shutouts.
Wow.
9 shutouts.
Wow.
So maybe a defensive battle in that game, but man, they're going to have to bring it to be ready and be prepared for South Pittsburgh.
And you look at it too. You know, you look at Mace and just the name, School of Engineering. So they must be smart and great athletes.
So man, that one to me, that's the 11 o'clock game, I believe, on Friday.
It is 11 o'clock Saturday game.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. And just real quick before you go into the next one, remember, guys, this is a special episode of the Dugout Dads. We will be streaming the live Carthage Parade here live in just a few moments. We're just going to recap a few things to begin with.
Yes. So, flipping over to 5A. Now, and this one right here, I'm excited about. This you got Sevier County against Page. Sevier County, offensive driven from a sophomore quarterback in Cooper Newman, thrown for 3,300 yards, 43 touchdowns. His favorite target has got 14 receiving touchdowns and 8 rushing touchdowns. So 22 total touchdowns on the season. And you look at their stats, they've scored 559 points and only give up 157. But they play Page. And this was the most astonishing team stat-wise to me that I had looked at and watched all season long. And they were runner-ups in 2021, 2022, and 2023. So the question I have is this the year Page finally gets over the hurdle? They've scored 504 points. But here's the stat for me. They have only given up 31 points.
Wow.
This whole season.
Wow.
14 games, you've given up 31
and scored over 500.
Wow. And no team has scored in double digits against this team.
Wow.
So buckle up your chin straps.
Buckle up your chin straps for that one.
I watched a little of their game against they were on my TV 30, where all of these games will be televised this coming Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Friday. Yep.
And man, they will buckle up your chin straps right. They're going to hit you, and they're going to hit you hard.
Yep.
And they got a bunch of kids that just play, and I think have got a couple of Tennessee, maybe one Tennessee commit. I believe I can't recall the kid's name right off the top of my head, but man, to give up 31 points in 14 games in a high school, that's pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah, and before you get into the next matchup, I'm kind of excited about the next matchup because it's a once again a repeat of last year's game. And I got some local flavor, especially for my wife, who's really good friends. And I'm assuming you're going to
the 4A game.
No, you're going to 4A next. I'm sorry. Next, we'll start in the next one.
That's okay.
Sorry. When you get to 6A's, go ahead.
So flipping to the Saturday matchups, you got 1, 3, and 5 on Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday matchups, it starts out with 4A and local flavor here. You got Macon County. You got Kyle Shoulders led Macon County.
Yep.
Playing Memphis Melrose,
yep.
a two-time not defending, but two-time state champion. But like we said earlier, not since 1998 have they been in this game.
Right.
So very exciting times for everybody coming out of Lafayette.
It is.
And looking at their stats, they've scored 503 points this year and only give up 157. They're 11-2. They've defended both of their losses. They lost to Upperman. They lost to White County early in the season, but they came back, went on the road, and beat them on the road in the playoffs. And then, you can't say enough about Gabe and Zach Borders.
No, you cannot. And, you look at Friday night's game, it was the Gabe and Zach Borders show once again. Their quarterback, and I can't recall his name, he played pretty good, but it was the Gabe and Zach Borders show once again.
I mean, I think Gabe ended up having close to 260 yards on the ground. And Zach is just a complimentary back. You say that, but he does all the heavy work inside. Gabe is more of a get outside, hit your head on the goalpost type. And, man, he hit his head on the goalpost a couple of times against Harrison County with a big 85 and 75-yard run.
Yep.
So, you think about Memphis Melrose, you probably think about they're going to have a lot of athletes, a lot of speed. They're not going to see any type of speed, I don't think, that they see in the Gabe Borders kid.
They're not.
And again, you look at Melrose, they've scored 425 points. They've only given up 138. And looking at their losses, and this is a huge factor for me looking at them, is they played a gauntlet of a schedule. They lost to Memphis University School, they lost to Memphis Munford, and they lost to a 6A Southwind in a very close 8-6 battle. So again, not really seen a lot of tape, don't really have a lot of stats on Memphis Melrose, but I know I have it deep down in my mind that, they're going to have athletes across the board.
Yeah.
And they're going to be ready for Macon County. But, man, what an exciting time for everybody.
What an exciting time. Once again for Macon County, tearing the goalpost down last week, ripping the goalpost down Friday night. I watched that game live. It was like I say, congratulations once again to Kyle and Macon County.
And the funny thing about that was it wasn't the kids that was on. You saw some dads, and I think I saw a couple of familiar faces. not going to out you just yet, but I think I saw some familiar faces hanging on that goalpost. So our 2A matchup on Saturday, it's Smith County, our local team here. In 2A, Gornsville coming up to 2A next year. You had Marion County, or you got Marion County versus Milan. Marion County, we all saw it against Smith County, a very high-powered,
Yes.
high-potent offensive. They scored 574 points, they only give up 123. You get up in that 600-point range in a 14-game season, you're scoring some points. And their only losses were to Sequatchie County and Tyner Academy out of Chattanooga. I couldn't find a lot of information on them, but I do remember hearing Matt talk about they run multiple schemes on offense,
Right.
so that they throw the ball all over the lot. And then you look at Milan, 13-1, scored 504, give up 226. Their only loss was to Jackson Central. Jackson Central blew them out early in the season, and then they came back and beat them in the playoffs, much like we saw Macon County do with theirs. Don't know much about Milan, but I expect. I kind of expect Marion County to maybe.
Yeah, Marion County. We see them play Smith County, and then they go in the next week. They go into the playoffs. Marion County's a really good football team.
Yeah.
Really good, really disciplined. We saw them against Smith County, and really Smith County had no offense against them, right? And they just out athleted them. So I expect Marion County to take that game as well.
So getting to the big public classification, the big 6A matchup Saturday night. I'm excited for this one. It's a rematch of last year. You look at Murfreesboro, Oakland, 7-time champion, facing the defending champion in Houston. Oakland's 13-1, Houston's 12-2. Oakland scored 547 points, giving up only 237. And, just looking at the stats from the Dwayne Morris kid, he's not had the typical year. I think he was injured maybe early in the season and
Right.
hadn't seen a lot of the field up until late. He's only got 88 carries on the year for 603 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also has 12 receptions for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns out of the backfield. So I think it's been kind of an injury-plagued season. I am very excited that he flipped his recruitment to Tennessee. Josh Heupel
Me too.
got him flipped. He was a USC recruit, but early last week, we saw that he's coming to the University of Tennessee.
And he reminds me of Dylan Sampson back. He looks very similar. He runs similar. His body builds similar. And he plays similar. So, it's something that Josh Heupel he loves Dylan Sampson. So he's probably trying somebody that replicate what he does.
And kudos to Kevin Creasy. I I grew up. I know Kevin pretty well, and man, what a name he has put out there for himself, and just he has done a great job at Murfreesboro, Oakland. We know, Coach Jackson over here at Gordonsville coached under him for many years, and what a legacy he is building there at Murfreesboro, Oakland.
Yeah, and you look at it, his son being the starting quarterback for him now. He's played with him everywhere he's went. Uh, you know, my wife really knows our family really well. Grew up with him, knows his wife Katie and the whole family really well. But to see Kyler grow up and actually be that starting quarterback for Murfreesboro, Oakland, what a testament to being a dad and you going to the state championship and your son's playing quarterback. So
And then you look at Houston County out of West Tennessee. They scored 450 points, only give up 192. You look at some of the stats of they look like they run the ball. Uh, Running back was a junior running back, rushes for over right at 100 yards a game. I don't expect anything but a really good football game in that 6A matchup. You look at the passing yards, they're right at, we're looking at 20 yards. Rush for 26. It's about the same as really, really good
we're gonna pull this. Got a little technical difficulty going on tonight, so we're gonna swap. We're gonna swap here to our wireless mics. Sorry about that, guys. We've been sitting here talking and had no idea that we didn't have any sound going on right now, but we will get that fixed.